The 52 Sketches Podcast, Episode 6, Screen and Stage Actor Dan White.
Welcome to 52 Sketches, a podcast about creativity and creative practices. Here's your host, Rob Head.
Welcome to the 52 Sketches Podcast. I am your host, Rob Head. Today, I'm excited to have on the show Dan White. Dan White is a writer, performer, actor, singer, and comic living in Los Angeles. He starred in Showtime's Barbershop the Series and has appeared on numerous shows, including The Young and the Restless, Hit the Floor, Sean Saves the World, Kirstie, Chasing Life. Dan has appeared in national commercial campaigns for companies such as McDonald's, Hardee's, Hewlett-Packard, and Taco Bell. On stage, he appears in productions such as Pulp Shakespeare, Henry V, and Three Sisters. Finally, he voices characters in video games, including games in the Walking Dead, Aliens, Far Cry, and God of War series. Dan can also currently be heard as the principal on Cartoon Network's Clarence. Dan also performs his stand-up comedy nationwide. So welcome, Dan.
Thank you so much, Rob. I really appreciate that. Great to be here.
You're welcome. Yeah. So is all of that true, or am I giving you credit for the work of other Dan Whites?
You know, all of that is actually true.
Excellent.
It's a trip to hear it out sometimes. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right.
I did that. Yeah. Exactly. Any work of any other Dan White you want to take credit for? Maybe the magician, the other actor,
As a magician, as a dude who's in a bunch of westerns. Yeah.
Okay. IMDb must have a real hard time with you.
Oh, that's funny. Sometimes.
Well, yeah. So thank you so much for taking the time. I'll start with a bit of a risky question. How are you and yours, faring during this crazy year? It's been weird.
It has been an interesting time. Well, as far as just personally, of course, it's been a tremendous opportunity to spend time with my family. And I taught my daughter how to rollerblade, how to ride a bicycle.
Oh, nice.
We despite the social distancing and everything like that. So, that has been certainly a silver lining to the cloud. Professionally, video games are through the roof. So,
nice.
that has certainly picked up in a lot of ways. And as have on-camera opportunities, you just have to become a master of lighting, makeup, hair, and everything.
You do it all
else.
at home now. Yeah,
exactly. So it's from the entertainment industry perspective. Just had to adjust. You know what I mean, and to make our opportunities, which is largely what we've done anyway. You know what I mean? So that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that you your family's doing well. Let's back up. Let's go back to the beginning and allow me to ask about your youth. What kind of artsy stuff did you participate in as a kid? Were you into theater, music, writing? Were you always were you the class clown? How did you get to this?
That's so funny.
As a kid, what were you doing?
Evidently when I was 4 years old, I skipped my regular line in the play, and I told everybody I wanted to be an actor and go to Hollywood. I don't remember that, but that's what I'm told. Right? So, but I was.
And where was this? Where did you grow up?
I've grown up in largely three places: Jackson, Mississippi, Washington, D.C., and Hampton, Virginia, which is in the Tidewater area, closer to Virginia Beach, Norfolk, and the water. It was, and I'd say that each place had a pretty significant impact on development. As both as a boy to a man, as well as a performer. I had 1 year that made me shy. I went to school and this is going to sound like I'm singing a theme song, but it was literally in West Philadelphia, where I was neither born nor raised. But on the playground, I got stabbed. I got hit in the face with a metal lunchbox. I got jumped, and I got in fist fights. This was in first grade.
First grade
I'm
West Philadelphia.
Yes.
Or was that
my mom?
Yeah.
My mom was was doing her residency at Thomas Jefferson Hospital. And I won't name the school because I don't want to like
Sure.
I don't want the bad public school, but like that made me very shy and reserved.
Mm-hmm.
And acting is what brought me out of that. I think.
I see.
Yeah. So I think
it's a safe place to be your full self on stage.
Exactly. And
yeah.
I think the coming out show was as Audrey 2 in Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, nice.
So
did you? Yeah, go ahead.
Now I was saying where the voice that I kind of used in that play continues to get me gainfully employed to this day. Seriously,
that's fantastic. Yeah. Did you have important events or models or mentors in those early days, say in high school or those days?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and what's been wonderful is I've been able to keep in touch with them largely to this day. From my second and third grade teacher, who was so an incredible teacher, Tawana Hinton. She's super charismatic, and I just remember her talking about being an organ donor and making it sound. I said I want to be an organ donor, not knowing like at 6 years old what that entailed, but joy infects passion, and that was like I saw this teacher be so passionate about what she did that it gave us joy to listen and to be informed by her, and I think that largely that translated into my passion on stage when I'm excited about what I'm talking about or my what I'm doing, and from stand up to singing to acting, it all really made it work. My high school drama coach, I still talk to her. I talked to her like 2 weeks ago. I sent her an audition. She still critiques me sometimes. I certainly have the wonderful influences and family influence as well, but that continue to be a part of my life and my continued growth and development.
So important. When you say things like organ donor, I think about that there's this aspect of not just somebody who could teach you craft, but somebody of strong character who was encouraging to you, in your formative years. And I think that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
So somebody convinced you should pursue this academically. Your bio says you have a master's in fine arts from California Institute of the Arts. Yeah, in acting. So how did you get there? And tell us about that.
Oh, CalArts. So CalArts, there was a large consortium of drama schools in Chicago having their regional auditions, and so I went there to audition to go to UCLA, and CalArts was there. And I said, "Wow!" And I wasn't as familiar. And the irony is, I actually got into UCLA, and changed my mind and went to CalArts. It was No, I mean, it's funny when you talk again about mentors. When I met Fran Bennett and Susan Solt, who were the head of the drama school and head of acting, respectively, and sometimes you meet someone and there's just a connection and that's where you need that's the person you need to follow, and that was the introduction to CalArts. That's what drew me to CalArts, and I met them in the audition, and something just told me that this is where I needed to be. I mean, aside from it being the number 4 like drama school in the world. Like it wasn't just about it wasn't just about that, but it was also the fact that like you have to connect with your teachers and mentors and so forth. Right. Because it's a symbiotic situation. There's not only And, you know, and having taught acting at Valley College and Compton College, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but I also am an associate professor, so I pop in and out.
Okay.
To teach speech and theater and acting, and so your students make you.
Do you have some special kind of day that has like 37 hours in it? How do you do all of this?
Oh, dude, it's amazing. I appreciate that. That was. You know, you make time for what you're passionate about, right? So, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you did this master's program at Cal Arts, yes. And did you immediately, get thrust into a career, or what kind of path have you taken to pay the bills along the way?
Yeah, again, back to Fran Bennett College. My parents are well, my dad's from California, from LA, and my mom is from Mississippi. Okay. But my grandparents, my paternal grandparents are from Louisiana. So, you know, black folk from the South want to know when you're gonna get a job. So
you get a real job, not like a gig. Yeah.
Right. So the question to Fran was, you know, what's gonna like what does it look like for him? And she said, oh, he'll get a series or something. And literally within a year and like 3 months, I had a series.
Oh, brilliant!
That was Barbershop on Showtime.
Did that allay their concerns?
It did. Oh, and then I forgot. Before that even happened, like within probably that was September. So within 6 months, I had a regular gig doing voiceover. Again, using that voice from Little Shop of Horrors. That was it was so basically it was I used to imitate Ricky Harris, who you saw him on Heat. He worked all the time. He passed away, God rest his soul. But he used to he did a character that I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name. I'll call him DJ Easy D. And I'll let you imagine what D stands for on Snoop Dogg's first record, on Snoop's first effort, Doggy Style. He did this smoking a fat sack right on DJ Ease, and he did that voice, and I used to always imitate it. And my friend of mine said, "Yo, remember that voice you be doing?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Come do this theme song." For this pilot we're going to do, and if it goes, you'll sing the theme song and you'll be the voice of the show. So the show ended up being, it was the number one show on MTV for like 5 years. It's called Pimp My Ride. And
totally. Yeah, everybody knows that.
So we came up. So you want to be a player, but your wheels ain't fly. You got to hit us up and get a pimped out ride. And so that
Fantastic.
Thank you. That was my first job out of school, and that happened really quickly. It was no time. So I started working. Like I've worked consistently in voiceover, TV, film, or theater pretty much since I got out of school. And I attribute that to my incredible teachers along the way, especially at Cal Arts too. Denise Woods, who she's coached Taraji Henson. She's coached Mr. Ali. And I say Ali. Okay. I say the award, the Oscar winner, Mahershala Ali. She coached him for True Crime, and she also so the joke about that is she also coached Will Smith for the film Ali as a voice coach, and so she was my teacher for 3 years, and she's been one of my mentors since then, and that's been some time. And I just had some incredible teachers and some very
that's great.
Just very fortunate to have people guiding me along the way.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm I'm jealous. That's fantastic.
I've been very fortunate to have some incredible mentors when at CalArts. One in particular that worked with Mr. Ali, and I joke about Mr. Ali because I'm both referring to Academy Award winner Mahershala Ali and her work with Will Smith on the film Ali. That person, Denise Woods, was my professor at CalArts for 3 years. She actually brought me in to teach her classes when she was on set after I graduated. And she continues to be a mentor and second mom to this day. And so yeah, it's
wonderful. Yeah, sort of circle back around to West Philadelphia. Will Smith.
Well played.
So you ended up in Los Angeles, for grad school, and just were immediately in the right place. So that's a wonderful thing. When I think back to the actors that I went to school with, we went to school in Baltimore, and so the best thing going was you could get a gig on Homicide: Life on the Street, or The Wire. Yeah, that was pretty much it. That was happening in town.
Where in Baltimore? Did you go to the Performing Arts School? Where did you go in Baltimore?
I went to UMBC, which is University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm very familiar. Awesome. Yeah.
There was an actor named James Brown Orleans who was there at the time. He ended up in New York. Anyway, but everybody that was anybody in our department ended up being a character on Homicide.
Wow.
Anyway, it was, but in Los Angeles, you're already there in the Mecca. You're in the center of everything and all the opportunities. So it's beautiful. Tell me a little bit about your daily, practices. Do you have regular, maybe daily, maybe near daily practices that keep you going, that help you care for yourself? How do you keep momentum, with your projects and your career?
Oh, absolutely. First and foremost, the speech warm-ups. The habits from drama school have certainly served me in good stead. They continue to be in place. We studied Speak with Distinction. Edith Skinner, who was a Juilliard professor for many years, who was actually Denise Woods' coach when she was at Juilliard, who I was talking about earlier. That's something that continues. I've been in STEAM study class even through the pandemic 2-3 times a week with Gloria Gifford, who is an accomplished film and television actress for many years, as well as Broadway. We do our Zoom class, 2-3 days a week, and everything like that. So there's that, and then I'm a runner and a boxer, and I've stayed out of the gym, out of the boxing gyms, with COVID and everything like that. But fortunately, most of my training is out, based outdoors. So running and calisthenics and so forth, and that when things jump back off, we'll be ready. I don't want to sound corny, but stay ready so you don't have to get ready. But that is certainly a mantra that is applicable. Not only just across the board, from craft to health and so forth. So that's one. Meal prep has been really easy during COVID. I've lost like 30 pounds.
Wow.
I'm like,
the running helps too. Yeah.
The running and the cauliflower rice have been life, So.
That's great. So you've got classes that continue, and I think it's an interesting thing. This has come up with a couple of other interviewees that classes have moved online more so than they were before, and who knows what the post-pandemic world will look like. It could be that we'll still be doing a lot of our studies as artists with folks that don't live in the same city as us.
Absolutely.
So it's sort of a new world. It's giving us a glimpse of more possibility.
It has. I will say this though, for as far as on camera acting, so much of so much of our performance is associated with behavior and touch and interaction and that, and I don't think that part will ever change. So that is certainly when we get back to normal. You can't say, for example, Kramer versus Kramer. You couldn't have that scene. You can't have that scene from a social distancing situation. You can't have someone recoil from touch if they're not there to touch each other. If that makes sense. So,
right.
I mean, it's heartening, and it's heartening from that perspective. Like, all the training that we put in, all of the work that we put in, like, it will still serve us in good stead whenever. But we know how to make it work in the interim and everything.
Right.
So.
Right. So, you do some writing and some comedy. Do you journal? Do you write or create content on a schedule these days?
So that I try to. I mean, we all. I try to journal. I was better at journaling when I was in my 20s. I have like 5 journals from my 20s. But the journaling is great. The journaling is great, and I think my content creation largely these days is just scene work, rehearsing, and prepping for auditions.
So it comes out of physical space rather than from just onto the page directly.
Right. And I was going to say, you asked about comedy. Comedy is a trip right now because comedy is also Zoom shows. And streaming live. The thing is, there's 4 or 5 people in the audience, so you got to be real. Right. You got to be real funny when there's 4 or 5 people in the audience. Like, if that's the thing is that when you have a large group, you can be all right and you can sound
and you feel social pressure to laugh when other people laugh. But
exactly. Well, I mean, there's actually a physiologic mechanism that kicks in when, like you said, when other people laugh, you're more likely to laugh. So if and furthermore, when there's 30, 40, 100 people laughing, like chuckling, it sounds like a roar. But if there's 4 people in the audience, like they better be about to fall out on the floor and have bust the gut.
Yeah.
And I've done some Zoom shows, and it's been a trip. It's like you watch the Daily Show, Saturday Night Live, like you really have to be committed to your performance as you would. I mean, and that's what's interesting about with comedy is like you have to you have to be to know your material so well that it sounds like you're speaking off the cuff, and that really translates in the Zoom era with that. If you even watch Bill Maher, where he intersperses like video of crowds laughing through the ages and everything like that. But it's still, it's still funny because the delivery, the timing, and everything is, professional.
Right. Yeah. He finds a way to make it feel. Yeah.
Exactly. And by the way, I'm not comparing myself to Bill Maher. I'm not saying I'm on that level. but
totally. Yeah.
But you see the formula that we have to follow to make it work now. That's exactly, that's what point out.
Right. And we're learning a lot about the dynamics of, part of what makes comedy work is there are people in the room laughing. Right. Exactly. It's the whole laugh track issue. And, in a comedy like, The Office was hilarious, but also very uncomfortable because there's no laugh track. Right.
Right.
That kind of thing. And so that whole dynamic of the interchange. Yeah.
Right. No, that's so funny you mentioned The Office. The Diversity Day episode is one I revisit on a regular because it's so hilarious. and part of that has to do with exactly what you're saying, Rob, which is the how awkward it is, and everything like that.
Yeah. We're going to try to get Rain on the show someday. We'll see.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it would be. Do you do a lot of collaborations? Do you enjoy working, creating content? Like in pairs or in groups?
Sure. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's group
it's sort of the nature of the beast in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. Group projects are always fun. Once the brainstorming happens, and you just throw everything to the wall and see what sticks. It's amazing what pops out sometimes. You know what I mean? Just back to like the Pulp Shakespeare project. There would be times where we're on stage, and I say, I need a line that is more germane to this idea, and I think it'll get more of a laugh. Or, we work it this way, and so the collaborative efforts are the best. I love those.
And Pulp Shakespeare, if I understand, was a retelling of Pulp Fiction in a Shakespearean style. Is that right?
Yes.
Or was it the opposite?
No, it was. Well, Quentin Tarantino's writing is very, very Shakespearean, just at a molecular level. There's betrayal, there's sex, there's violence, there's blood. Like that's Shakespeare. So it was.
Yeah, absolutely. The blood is on the stage. Yeah,
that's right. And so the retelling of Pulp Fiction was not too much of a jump. You know what I mean? As much of a jump as one would think.
Absolutely.
So it was literally just changing the language, and that was to this even having had a series and doing having some high profile jobs at times. Like Pulp Shakespeare is still my jam. Like still my the most fun I have had on stage, and probably the most artistically fulfilling situation as well.
Yeah, and it's very 21st century, right? This idea of a mashup, right, is very much in the air, in our generation of creators.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right. Well, fantastic. So what are your plans, for the future, both within the pandemic and post-pandemic, whenever that may come?
When is post-pandemic going to happen?
We don't know.
I know.
Could be 6 months, could be 3 years.
Good Lord.
Yeah. For real.
So, but that's a funny question because, when you say what are your plans, it's hard to plan these days.
It's hard. With some level of seriousness, do we have is the future coming? We don't. It's hard to tell.
It's coming, but it's going to be different, and I mean it is different, and it's going to continue to be different. So the question is, when I say okay, well I need I want to work with this director. In the next 6 months, that's another practice too, is to I revisit my 3, 6, 9, 5-year goals and so forth. And
nice. And you have them. It sounds like you have them at several different scales.
I do. No, because you have to work. You have to work backwards. If I recall correctly, habit number 3 in the 7 habits of
highly successful people.
Thank you. Is begin with the end in mind. So I try to work my way back there.
Right.
It's interesting to try to do that because you don't know when the industry's coming back. We don't know when we're going to be shooting again, and so forth. That said, continuing to work on my craft. Those are the immediate things. And when things open back up, there are directors I want to work with, and there are some projects that I have in mind, and then there are projects that will continue to come out, some of which I can't discuss right now.
Right, of course, yeah.
But no, there's a project that I'm working on right now that we've been working on for the last couple of years.
Wow.
That'll probably be released next year. So next time we talk, I certainly want to discuss it. and everything like
well,
that.
I look forward to that. Yeah. Very cool. So, Dan, it's a delight to talk with you.
Thank you, Rob.
And I really appreciate you taking the time. And again, I hope you continue to be well and look forward to seeing your future work.
My man. Thank you, Rob. I really appreciate it. The pleasure is mine.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you so much.
The 52 Sketches podcast is a product of 52 Sketches, makers of earlywords.io, daily, private, stream of consciousness writing to clear your mind and unlock your creativity.